and welcome to Journeys in Journalism News Brief. I'm Henry Haight, a senior at Lakewood High School. Today, I'll be talking with Erin Savage, principal at Lakewood, about how students and teachers are adjusting to our new way of distance learning. Welcome, Ms. Savage.
Thank you. Hello.
So, five quick questions. Some might not be as quick as others, but for our first one, from what you've been hearing, how are Lakewood staff and students adjusting to the change?
From what I'm hearing, it's a little bit of both. I have some students that are loving the virtual platform. I have some teachers that I don't want to say who are loving it, but who are okay with the virtual platform. And as I go into some of the different channels to see what the students and the teachers are doing, I have been kind of hearing from some students that they do not like it. They prefer to be in the building with their teachers, with their friends, which I expected that. And then I've talked to a couple of adults at Lakewood and then some others because, of course, I'm talking to friends, my friends around the district. And some people just don't like it. Some people are social butterflies. They like being in the schools. They like seeing the students. So they're struggling a little bit. But overall, I think everyone's doing fine. It's just the social aspect of what we do in education. I really do believe that that's the main problem. It's not that they can't do it. It's just we're used to one way of teaching and learning, and now we're cast into this new way of teaching and learning, and it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's having an effect on everyone. But mm, on the topic of, being distanced by all this, do you think we'll be returning to school before the end of the school year? And if so, by then we'll likely be done with exams and things. What will students and teachers be doing at school during that time?
Well, from what I'm understanding, we may be back at school. And I'm only going by there was a news update last Thursday, I believe, in which Governor DeSantis he mentioned maybe returning with 2 weeks in the school year left. I have not heard anything from Pinellas County Schools district leadership if that's going to actually happen or not. But it's kind of out there circulating that it might, and I think it came from that news briefing that Governor DeSantis had last week. So do I think I honestly don't know. With me, if the district says yes, I am packing up all my stuff and headed back in the office. If they say no, I'm, ready to keep sitting at my dining room table, making this work. So I don't know. I hope to know something this week, though. I will say that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So another question. From what I've heard from students at other schools, they've taken a looser approach to online schooling, while Lakewood has favored a more scheduled system, sort of like the block scheduling we have it normally. Uh, Personally, I like it. It's nice to have a sort of structure to things, but what inspired this decision?
Well, because Lakewood and three other schools are on the block scheduling. So there's Lakewood, Bogosiega, Gibbs High School, and Dixie Hollins. We're all on the 8-period block schedule. So one of the questions when we first started looking at the online learning, people were like, well, what are we going to do? What about the AB? Because, we have 4 classes one day, 4 classes the next day. So the district came up with the schedule for us, and it works. It looks like it's more work, but I think it's just to keep everybody from being confused and sticking to our regular A-B schedule instead of us seeing, because we don't see all of our kids on one day. Could we have gone to that? We could have, but with our attendance, teachers are still taking attendance via Focus. So it wouldn't work for us to take attendance for 8 classes in one day because Focus only allows us to take attendance for 4 periods a day. So we
Okay.
had to come up with a schedule like that to meet our block schedule.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
But as you do notice that we are hopefully not keeping kids online for 82 minutes. I'm hoping that that's not happening. The teachers are supposed to lecture or talk or explain for 20 to 30 minutes. And then the rest of that time, they should be available if students have questions. The teachers will be online for 82 minutes, but the students will be, learning will be released to the students after about 30 minutes.
okay. Yeah, it's important to, as much as easy it is as it is to slip into in these times, it's good that you're trying to encourage people to not be on the computer the entire time.
Right. Yes, we didn't think if we had a student on a computer 82 minutes 4 times a day, I think that would be a bit much for kids to do that. Might be too much for adults too, because I can't imagine if I were a teacher having to talk for 82 minutes via on the computer, and then the hypothetical bell change, next period comes and I talk another 82 minutes. So it may be difficult when I say it out loud like that, I think it may be difficult for some teachers to turn off after 30 minutes. But in the classrooms that I visit via Teams, it looks like, it looks like the teachers are doing an awesome job. A couple of the classes, when kids, I have noticed when they know that I'm in the room, they may not say anything at first, but then I've told the teachers, please encourage them to act like I'm not there. Or you could tell them, or sometimes the teacher will say, oh, Miss Savage is here. Good morning. And I'm like, if you think that that's going to mess up the flow with the students' interaction, then you don't even have to let them know that I'm in the room. Because sometimes I'm just there. I'm not spying or anything. It's a mandate from the district that we're in rooms, and it's just
Yeah, you're
it's
just
kind of
checking
fun
up
to
on
me.
things.
I'm just checking up, and I like being in the rooms because I like hearing the conversations between the students and the teachers. It's fun for me. Sometimes I do the daily check-ins, like the attendance polls. If a teacher has a question, I'll answer the question. I don't do any of the work because it looks too hard for me. I'm glad I'm not in high school anymore.
It is.
Especially Halstead's AP English. When I go in her and Miss Herring's, her AP, one of her AP classes, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is too hard. Okay, good luck. Hi kids, if you need me, call me.
So on a little more serious-ish topic, senior fees. Due to the cancellation of things like the things that senior fees would go towards, prom. I've heard rumors that the Raymond James Stadium graduation might be canceled. If all that happens, is there planned for refunds? And if not, what will be done with the money?
So what we are looking at, and again, I will know more information this week. I've talked to Miss Alvaro, I've talked to Miss Moore, and I've talked to Mr. Schnell. They're the only 3 people that I've talked to, and I'm only able to give them a limited amount of information only because I have not been given all of the information. So right now we are still planning for graduation. We, of course, the senior breakfast, senior picnic, more than likely will not be happening unless, some miracle happens. So right now, what the high school principals we talked about last week, because we met Friday, all 16 or 17 high school principals, we met last Friday, and it looks as though we will be, if we don't go with graduation at Tropicana Field, we will be giving back a portion of the senior fees, because students will still get the cap and gowns have already been ordered. that comes out of your senior fees. So that money we can't give back to you, but we can give you your cap and gown. We won't, if it's canceled if graduation at Tropicana is canceled, then of course we won't have to pay for Tropicana Field. We won't have to pay for the St. Pete Police to come and do security. And I think there's some other little things like flowers, stage flowers that all schools put in for. So there are some things that we won't have to pay. So what we're doing, as soon as we get word from the district about which direction we're going to go in for graduation, then I will have my graduation team get together, just Lakewood's team get together, and we will go item by item and see what we will refund to each student.
Got it. Thank you. I've
You're
had a lot of people express concern about that, and
absolutely, absolutely, yes. We've already started. We're going to process refunds for Grad Bash because, well, that doesn't have anything to do with graduation. That didn't come out of your fees, but obviously we're not doing Grad Bash. So I've been talking with my bookkeeper, and I think tomorrow we're going to meet at the school so I can sign some paperwork for her to start the refund process for any student who paid for Grad Bash.
thank you. I've also had a lot of people asking about that. Last I heard, the refunds were at the onus of Universal, but it's still very good to hear that refunds are being worked on for that.
We did not pay. We didn't send the money in. We were right before we were supposed to send the money in. This COVID-19 happened. The school closure it was spring break happened first, and then we were going to pay the money right after spring break. So the money is in house, so that makes it a little bit better that we don't even have to deal with Universal. We'll write checks from the school, and I guess we'll mail them to the students. Not sure. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we will be issuing refunds.
Yeah, good to hear. And for our last question, still on the topic of coronavirus and its effect on school things, there's been a lot of layoffs around the nation of non-essential workers, or I guess just, you understand what I'm talking about. That is there any members of Lakewood staff that have been affected by this?
I do not know about spouses of teachers or support staff. I am not sure. I do know I have Mrs. Heatley, one of our guidance counselors. Her husband is a first responder. So I saw her today. She was at the school when we did the Feeding Tampa Bay food distribution this morning. And I asked her how was everything going? She said her husband is 1 day on, 2 days off. So he'll work 24 hours and then he'll have 48 hours off and then he'll go back to work. No one has said anything to me about, being affected. Their spouses or family members have been expected been expected. No one has said anything about them being subjected to any layoffs or anything. I would not be surprised, but staff, and they don't tell me everything, but some people who I'm closer to than others, they do share with me, but I have not heard anything.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any final words before we wrap up?
No, I'm glad we did this interview. I think it's really important for the students to know. I've been trying to get information out. I hate to keep sending the phone calls home or the emails home that don't give any information. So I kind of say to everybody, when I know, you'll be the first to know. So it's important for me to know that everybody knows as soon as I hear anything definite. Like I was able to tell you today about the Grad Bash refunds. Those are going to start happening. Senior fees, I know that's like huge. Across the nation, seniors are being kept away from activities, all of the rituals, all of the rites that you have gone to school for, 13 years. And now all of a sudden you're at home. So that I do take that very seriously. We're trying to in our heads trying to wrap around some things that we could possibly do for seniors after we return. Unfortunately, it may be after graduation. I don't know how many seniors would return, for activities. But we are just trying to push things in our head. It's just until we hear from district leadership, Pinellas County School leadership, hopefully this week. We're just, right now, everything is just in our heads. And I'm just really hesitant to start talking about it until we can actually start formulating a plan. So I miss all the students. I miss all the teachers. With the teachers, we meet once a week, typically on Friday. Last week we met on Thursday because teachers didn't work on Friday. And they're so funny when they get online after the meeting is over, after we finish the business portion of the agenda. They just go back and forth with each other for about 10 or 15 minutes with just fun and lighthearted stuff. Last week we were talking about Tiger King after the end of the meeting, so it was kind of
Such a
funny
good
to see.
show.
I know it was fun to see how the teachers weigh in. It's like, okay, so you really don't think Carol Baskin is guilty, huh? I'm just sitting there watching them go back and forth, so it was kind of fun. And then, to students, I miss them. I do see a few students here or there because I live in the neighborhood. So when I go to Publix, I see students who work at Publix. And it's hard. It's really hard, especially when I see the seniors, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it.
Well, it's good to hear that we even advocate for the student body as our principal. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you for your time, Miss Savage. As for the people listening to this, stay tuned for more episodes of the Journeys in Journalism News Brief. I'm Henry Haight. Thank you for listening.